Hey guys, what is happening and welcome to this video. So in today's video we are talking about why buy the dip does not work, and it's fundamentally flawed when we talk about different markets. We're going to talk about real estate, we're going to talk about stocks. So it's going to be an incredibly interesting video that you'll want to listen along for. So if you haven't done so already, guys, please hit that like button. It helps get the video out for the algorithm, and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in content like this. So without further ado, guys, let's roll the credits. Alright guys, welcome back. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm dressed smartly, it's because I'm going to a meeting in a few minutes, but I just wanted to run this past you. It was something I posted on Twitter a couple of days ago, and I thought, this was something that people need to understand about different markets. The buy the dip mentality is a retail investor mentality. That is totally flawed for a number of different reasons. For example, if you're buying the dip going into a recession and you lose your job, and that could be for stocks, that could be for real estate, then you have to sell, then you are in so much trouble. So let's talk about stocks first. So imagine you're buying the dip down like right now. The NASDAQ is down something like 5% today, and it's nearly 20% off its highs. So you could think, oh, I'm going to buy the dip right here. But then what happens if it falls another 20%? Then you are looking at a 20% loss. Are you then going to buy the dip there? But the key thing to remember here is what happens if that is happening, there's likely going to be impacts in the economy. Something is likely going on. That's why these markets are going down. And the chances are, the probabilities are that your employment is at risk, or your business is more at risk in those situations, as large players are losing lots of money. It's no giant secret, guys, that even wealthy people are very bad when it comes to buying investments and everything like that. Everybody likes to think that just because people drive a Ferrari or they have lots of money, that must mean they're some good investor, and that is totally wrong. Investing is all about mindset, and that's why I'm talking about this buy the dip mentality and how it doesn't work. So let's now focus on real estate a little bit more. So imagine you just bought a place, height of the real estate bubble, and now prices are going down because of interest rates, and Canada or the United States enters a recession. So then your chance of losing your job goes up. It goes way up, and the unemployment rate will likely be going up as well. So let's imagine that you lose your job. You then need to sell that house, and the likelihood is, if interest rates have risen, that home prices have gone down, and the likelihood is, if unemployment is rising, home prices are also going down. Both those things impact real estate prices negatively. Now, there's a key thing that I want you to remember here, especially when it comes to leverage. You will always be given more leverage than you can handle. Now, that goes for stocks, that goes for real estate, goes for absolutely everything, guys. I could go right now to my computer and borrow £9 million worth of stock, essentially. Now, don't get me wrong, if I did that, I would be wiped out in pretty much an instant. But just the fact that I can borrow these ridiculous amounts of money just shows you how much leverage that we are being given. Somebody could easily blow out their account, and they do all the time, people in the stock market. But the same goes for real estate, actually. Real estate is a leveraged purchase. The less you put down, the more leverage you're taking out. So the thing is, when it comes to things like real estate, there's a gigantic risk there, as there is with any leverage products. The problem is the risk isn't actually explained or told by mortgage brokers, realtors, etc., like it's not their job and they are a moral hazard, in my opinion, just because they essentially have no risk involved with your purchase, for instance. So when it comes to leverage and everything like that, it's extremely important to understand that the bank is always going to give you too much leverage. They're always going to give you too much money, and people always borrow the maximum. Now, don't get me wrong, that is not everybody, and I'm sure a lot of the smart people on this channel have not done that. But the fact is, most people will go and borrow the maximum. Why do the banks do that? The thing is, the banks do that because they know the more they lend you, that means the higher your payments are, that means the less cash flow that you're going to have, and they always try and keep it to the maximum, so you are going to take out other loans because you're not going to be able to afford a lot of money and everything like that. It's pretty clever when you think about it like that. And the banks, to them, there's no risk, because if they go bankrupt or even worried about going bankrupt, the government's going to be there bailing them out. And especially when it comes to insured mortgages here in Canada, there's like pretty much no risk for the bank. So they really don't care. And that's why you see lower rates for insured mortgages than uninsured. It just shows there that the risk premiums are different. So the key thing to remember here is you're always going to be lent too much. And the thing is, the amount the bank will lend you, even with the stress test and everything like that in Canada, if most people have equal income in the household, or even if one of them has more income, it doesn't really matter to that point actually. But let's say you have equal income in the household and one of you loses your job. If you borrowed the maximum, you will no longer be able to afford to meet your obligations. So that means you'll be forced into selling. Now, I want to bring a little bit of 2008 into this because I watched a documentary, which I'm actually going to link in the description. I think everybody should go and watch that documentary, hear people's stories, and you're going to hear the same story repeated over and over again by different people. These people who bought during the height of that real estate bubble, they didn't know that they were buying at the height of that real estate bubble. They just bought, they listened to their emotions, whatever it was, they just bought there. And then they fell on hard times. They lost their job. And then when they went to sell, funnily enough, a lot of other people had lost their job. So it put them in an incredibly tricky situation. And this is what I want to outline to you guys, is sometimes things happen that are beyond your control. So when people say buy the dip or just buy and hold, these retail investor type mentality and notions, that's all well and good if the economy is beating on okay at a good pace. But if unemployment is rising, that's an incredibly risky thing to do. So, I mean, this isn't financial advice, but people should be looking at their finances and saying, okay, we're heading into a recession. So, or there's a high probability of us heading into a recession. If one of us loses our job, are we going to be able to meet our obligations? For most people, the answer is going to be no. And that's the big red flag. And that is really understanding the nuances of the markets that we often talk about. These things are not discussed by mortgage brokers and realtors, and there is hundreds of them now on YouTube here in Canada, thousands in the United States, publishing videos which all goes with their business, what they do, which is sell houses, you know, so it is what they're doing. But the thing is, I have no real problem with them doing that. It's a free country at the end of the day. But it does annoy me that a lot of them do it in a covert way, as in they're not upfront about risk, they're not upfront about what they do, they're not upfront that they're making money from you purchasing a home using them. And the reality is, like here on YouTube, if you have a sponsor, you're meant to hit that checkbox that says you have a sponsor, and then it comes up on the videos, it ranks differently. But the reality is they use a loophole where it's their own channel, but they are essentially their own sponsor. So you know what, it's kind of fine in that respect, but they mislead a lot of people, and that's what I don't like. And the misleading type of people, unfortunately, they'll get what they deserve in the end. They always do, and that's just karma. And I believe in karma. I've experienced karma. It's real, in my opinion. And the thing is, leverage, buy the dip, buy and hold, all these things do not work in an economy in recession. And this is the thing, guys. This is the golden nugget of this video. You need to be in a position financially where you can weather a storm. It's like my good buddy Scott Walters says, and I'll link him in the description below, but you've got to be in a position where you can insulate yourself. You know, nobody is recession proof, as Scott says, but you can be at least insulated against that recession. Think about a fire. It's burning all around you, but you've got that insulation there, and you're hoping that fire gets put out before it burns to you. But do you really want to be that person who sat in the wooden structure, the fire's coming, and they're pouring gasoline onto it? Those are the people who are buying right now. Those are the people, the investors that are buying right now. It's the dumb money in the market. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing if you enjoy this type of content. And if you do subscribe, make sure that you turn all your notifications on, because we often do live streams on this channel. I would love to see you in the chat participating in this community. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. Peace and love as always. Bye-bye.